What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again once again, and today we're going to talk about weapons, specifically weapons to look forward to during Season 17. Now I have a theory, a game theory. The next sandbox tuning patch is called Be Careful What You Wish For, because there's a lot of weapons that we're going to cover that have the potential to be OP, and in some cases, many people would argue are already OP, but have always been kept in check by the more shotgun rush nature of Destiny. As I'm sure most everybody knows, the entirety of Destiny 2's PvP sandbox is being overhauled for Season 17. If you somehow miss that, my coverage will be, I don't know, in the corner, in the pinned comment, in the description, somewhere. I have a video on it. If I remember to put it there, it's there. If not, I don't know, look for it. But the TLDR for people who don't want to do that is shotguns are getting nerfed. Again. Fusion rifles are getting nerfed. Again. Special ammo in and of itself is getting nerfed into the ground. And scavenger mods will be disabled in PvP. In Season 17, the special ammo economy in PvP will be nerfed to the point that you might as well go back to double primaries. Which, when double primaries catch on, will be a further nerf to special ammo, because now you're not using special ammo, now your opponents aren't using special ammo, and anybody who's reliant on special ammo is being starved out of special ammo. But talking about weapons you should keep an eye out on is not the only reason I'm making this video. After my last video talking about Halo content, not Halo the game, but Halo the concept, you know, like the Halo car, not the Warthog, the Halo car, a car that pushes the technology, styling, and performance a brand can offer. You know, that kind of Halo car, not the Warthog. Also, quite a few of you thought that wanting super hard content was elitist and dumb, which, in my opinion, just makes you look sad. Sorry, not sorry. But I digress. One of the comments that I saw a lot surrounding Halo content was about rewards, basically boiling down to, "But Joker," the people cried in their shrill, tremulous voices, "we can't give good players who are good at the hard content good rewards for playing some of the hardest content in the game. That's not fair. Remember Not Forgotten?" Or as this tweet that was sent to me reads, somebody once pointed out that if the best PvP weapons are only available for a Lighthouse this season, then next season, everyone who never went flawless would only have a harder time doing so. And that cycle only gets worse over time as more gear is added. How do you combat this? Now, I'm sure most of you are looking at that comment going, that's just factually inaccurate. Adept weapons are not the end-all be-all of PvP weaponry. I have no clue why people think they are. I honestly do not know. I'm confused. So, say for example, you're playing in a meta like we have now, and rapid-fire fusion rifles and precision fusion rifles like main ingredient are dominating in PvP. An adept palindrome isn't really going to do shit for fuck for you, provided you want to play the meta. But you know what will? A god-rolled Saluna. Both weapons have relatively the same stat spread within a few points. However, I would argue, because of the perks, Saluna is better than Palindrome. More so in the coming meta, where perks like Rapid Hit and Perpetual Motion will be invaluable. On top of that, Saluna allows you to use a god-rolled main ingredient, or a god-rolled rapid-fire fusion rifle. The Palindrome doesn't. And I think that's something people forget when they talk about weapons. Yes, this one weapon is great in a vacuum, but how does it pair with other things? Or how much easier is it to farm? And while yes, Palindrome isn't a Trials of Osiris weapon, it's a Nightfall weapon, Palindrome is still a meta hand cannon, and hand cannons rule the meta. But if you look at Trials of Osiris weapons, there's only one, maybe two standouts, and Messenger isn't amazing because you can get an adept version that just blows every other weapon in the game out of the water. No, it's amazing because it has Desperado or Kill Clip. And the base Messenger, which I would argue is better than the Adept because it's farmable, is also the one you see reflected in Trials reports, not the Adept. And you don't have to go to the Lighthouse to get a Messenger. However, if we go back to that Trials report, the Messenger isn't the king of the hill. Another pulse rifle is. Peace of Mind, the craftable Season of the Risen pulse. In fact, while there are two Trials of Osiris weapons on the Trials report list, only one is an Adept, and it's clear that Trials weapons aren't the end-all be-all. In fact, if we break down the list by weapon type instead of specific weapon, we see, as I stated earlier, that hand cannons are king. And I of course say this with the caveat that weapon usage will fluctuate depending on the map or the meta. However, the point is, Trials of Osiris weapons are not the end-all be-all. Weapons like your Palindrome, your Saluna, your Ace of Spades, your Crimson, your Last Words, your shotguns, things like that, currently dominate the meta. So this idea that Trials of Osiris weapons are set in a way that the rich just get richer is ludicrous. Now, I didn't pull that story out of my ass just to pad out the video. When talking about weapons, we have to understand why a weapon works in a certain sandbox the way that it does. You don't have to be true Vanguard to extrapolate basic logic. The weapons that are continuously good in Destiny tend to be weapons that people already have, or are easy to get a hold of. With that in mind, what's going to dominate in next season? Now, this will be presented as a list, it's in no way comprehensive, nor is it in any specific order. With that out of the way, number 1, Le Monarch. How exactly has this bow escaped being nerfed into the ground? This bow is already a terror. Because of its DOT ability, then you add the ability to hot swap to any hand cannon, and it's a 1-2 punch that is going to dominate PvP in a world where shotgun rushing is a thing of the past. Taking a lane and peek shooting will be more viable than ever before. And you're going to notice that that's going to be kinda sort of a trend. Weapons that allow you to kill people quickly while holding a lane. Number 2, second verse, same as the first, but I did kinda wanna give Le Monarch a special mention because of its DOT ability. However, bows in general and the ability to swap to hand cannons are going to be nutty. And as we saw in Destiny 2 Year 1, when people don't have shotguns to rush you, what do? They sit on a corner and they team shoot. So peek shooting with bows and using hand cannons, or bows like Wishender, are going to be invaluable. But that doesn't mean I haven't thought of ways to counter it. Number 3, Fighting Lion. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man reigns king. In a meta where peek team shooting is going to be back on the menu, Fighting Lion says, fuck your hallway, fuck your corner. And that's kind of basically it. It's a good AoE counter to people clustering up and sitting on a corner. Number 4, Devil's Ruin. This weapon is already comedically OP. I honestly don't understand why more people don't use it. I guess because the charge time takes a little bit of skill, but it also kills supers. Sidearms are one of those weapons that are comedically slept on. Don't get me wrong, I don't like using them either. There's just something in my brain that goes, no, this little pew pew gun should not be killing Guardians like it's the last fucking word. Speaking of the last word, number 6. The last word is getting a buff on PC, and in the land where there's no shotguns, the last word will reign king in that CQC area. Number 7, the good old dad rifle. Rapid fire pulse rifles are getting a buff, and things like Peace of Mind are already dominating the meta. In a meta where you're sitting at one side of the lane and your opponent's on the other side of the lane, and they have a bow, you have a pulse rifles are going to be obnoxious. Speaking of people grouping up in team shooting, basically any good weapon with explosive damage. We are talking your Ace of Spades, your Sunshots, your Polaris Lances. Anything with explosive rounds under the new flinch mechanics is probably going to be pretty busted. A lot of weapons that fall into this category are hand cannons. And what do hand cannons pair wonderfully with? Bows. So I think you're going to see a handful of loadouts. Your pulse rifle SMG, your pulse rifle sidearm, your bow hand cannon, and then Fighting Lion and any variation of the above. At number 9, Outbreak Perfected is probably going to be pretty good. More so with the Siva Swarm attacking groups of people who try to bunch up and team shot. Last, but certainly not least, Teraba. Teraba already eats most things lunch in CQC. Say it with me again, with shotguns being nerfed, SMGs and sidearms are going to have a field day. And yeah, that's about it. Special mentions, Revoker. Yeah, Revoker's going to be a problem. Maybe not in Trials of Osiris, but in virtually everything else. For those of you who do not know, missing a shot with Revoker returns the bullet. This is going to be a problem. But hey, those are just my thoughts. What weapons do you think are going to become meta in the coming season? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, remember to do all the YouTube stuff, like subscribe, feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous, and above all else, stay frosty.